The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda.
May 2nd, 2011, 1 a.m.
This is Echo 09. We have unknowns gathering on the southwest rooftops.
In the quiet military city of Abbottabad, Pakistan, two American Black Hawk helicopters silently crossed the border and entered Pakistani airspace. What made the situation unbelievable was the fact that the Pakistani army had absolutely no idea they were there. No alarms, no radar detection, no fighter jets. Within moments, elite United States Navy SEAL commandos dropped out of the helicopters and surrounded a mysterious compound hidden behind massive concrete walls. Exactly 40 minutes later, the world's most wanted terrorist, Osama bin Laden, was dead. The commandos quickly placed his body into a body bag and prepared to leave the compound. But before escaping, they did something strange. They blew up one of their own helicopters. Why would America destroy its own aircraft inside Pakistan? How was a man America had hunted for nearly 10 years hiding comfortably inside a Pakistani military town? How did the CIA finally discover his secret location? And why was bin Laden buried in the middle of the ocean only hours after his death? Friends, I am Mahdi Hassan. Today we are diving deep into one of the most dangerous and secret military missions in modern history, Operation Neptune Spear. To understand this mission, we have to go back nearly 10 years earlier, 2001. The horrifying attacks on the World Trade Center shocked the entire world. Passenger airplanes crashed into the Twin Towers in New York. Killing thousands of innocent civilians. America immediately declared a global war against terrorism, and one man became the #1 target of the United States, Osama bin Laden. Just 2 months later, in November 2001, American forces launched massive bombing operations inside the mountains of Tora Bora in Afghanistan. Intelligence reports claim bin Laden was hiding deep inside the cave systems there. Missiles and bombs rained down across the mountains as American troops closed in, but somehow bin Laden escaped. And from that moment, he became a ghost. For almost 10 years, American intelligence agencies searched across multiple countries, intercepted communications, tracked suspects, and followed tiny clues across the world. Yet every time they thought they were close, bin Laden disappeared again. Then finally, a breakthrough came. The CIA discovered the identity of a trusted courier connected to bin Laden. His name was Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. Unlike other al-Qaeda members, this man moved very carefully. He rarely used phones, avoided technology, and traveled secretly between locations. But American intelligence believed that anyone trusted this deeply by bin Laden had to know where he was hiding. For years, the CIA secretly tracked Abu Ahmed's movements. Eventually, they followed him to a strange compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. The compound immediately raised suspicion. It was surrounded by unusually high walls topped with barbed wire. There were no internet lines, no telephone connections. The residents burned their trash instead of putting it outside. And despite the massive size of the property, nobody seemed to know who actually lived there. Even stranger, the compound was located only a short distance away from Pakistan's military academy. The CIA began monitoring the compound day and night. Satellites watched from space. Hidden surveillance teams observed movements around the house. Analysts studied every detail. One tall man was occasionally seen walking inside the courtyard, but he never showed his face clearly. CIA officers gave him a nickname, the Pacer. The Americans became increasingly convinced that this mysterious man was Osama bin Laden. Finally, after months of surveillance, President Barack Obama approved a secret military raid. The mission was named Operation Neptune Spear. Now, the most dangerous part began. On the night of May 1st, 2011, at an American-controlled military base near Abbottabad, Afghanistan, 4 helicopters arrived under complete secrecy. 2 were specially modified Black Hawk helicopters, equipped with advanced stealth technology. The other two were Chinook helicopters carrying backup support teams. Around 10:30 p.m., the operation officially started. 2 Black Hawks and 1 Chinook lifted off toward Abbottabad. But the Chinook did not continue all the way. Instead, it landed at a hidden standby location midway through the route. Inside that Chinook were nearly 50 quick reaction force soldiers, heavy machine guns, extra ammunition, explosives, and additional fuel in case the mission failed or emergency rescue became necessary. The Black Hawks continued alone toward Pakistan. Normally, helicopters create enormous noise that could be heard from miles away. But these Black Hawks were different. Their rotor systems had been redesigned to reduce sound, and the helicopters were coated with radar-absorbing materials and special dart panels that made them difficult to detect visually at night. As they crossed into Pakistani airspace, Pakistan's radar systems failed to detect them. The helicopters flew almost silently through the darkness. After nearly 90 minutes of flying, around midnight, the helicopters reached bin Laden's compound. Everything was going perfectly, until disaster nearly destroyed the entire mission. According to plan, the first Black Hawk was supposed to hover above the compound and lower SEAL operators directly into the courtyard. But as the helicopter descended, hot air trapped inside the high compound walls created a dangerous aerodynamic condition called a vortex ring state. Violent, unstable air currents suddenly formed beneath the aircraft, reducing lift and destabilizing the rotor system. For a terrifying moment, the helicopter lost control. Inside the aircraft, the Navy SEALs believed the mission might already be over. The pilots desperately tried to stabilize it, but the helicopter dropped hard into the compound. Its tail section slammed into the wall at nearly a 45-degree angle. Miraculously, nobody died in the crash. The commandos quickly escaped the damaged helicopter and continued the mission. The emergency was immediately reported back to the base in Jalalabad. At the same time, the backup Chinook waiting behind was ordered to move toward Abbottabad for possible extraction support. Meanwhile, the second Black Hawk successfully landed on the northeast side of the compound, along with the SEAL team. There was also a specially trained military dog whose job was to search for hidden people or escape tunnels. After dropping the commandos, the helicopter lifted back into the sky and began circling overhead, monitoring the area for any Pakistani military response. Now the clock was ticking. The SEAL team had only 30 minutes to complete the mission. The commandos climbed over the compound walls using ropes and explosives. They blasted open the main gate and immediately moved toward the guest house. Inside the guest house was Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti, along with his wife and 2 children. The moment the SEALs approached the entrance, Abu Ahmed opened fire wildly through the doorway. 1 bullet struck a SEAL operator in the shoulder. The commandos instantly returned fire. Within seconds, Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti was killed on the spot. The SEALs quickly secured his wife and children in one room to prevent interference with the mission. Then they cut electricity to the entire compound. Darkness swallowed the building. But while the people inside struggled blindly through the dark, the SEAL operators could see everything clearly through their advanced night vision goggles. For SEALs inside the compound unlocked the inner doors from within, allowing the rest of the team to enter. Other commandos spread around the outside perimeter to block escape routes and monitor the area for approaching Pakistani soldiers or police units. The team then moved toward the first floor of the main building. There they encountered Abrar al-Kuwaiti, the brother of Abu Ahmed, along with his wife Bushra and their children. As the SEALs engaged Abrar, his wife Bushra suddenly jumped in front of him. The bullet struck her instead, killing her instantly. Using the brief moment of confusion, Abrar grabbed an AK-47 rifle and attempted to fire at the commandos, but he never got the chance. The SEALs opened fire immediately, killing him within seconds. One operator then gathered the terrified children and moved them downstairs toward the guest house. Next, the commandos advanced toward the second floor. There they encountered bin Laden's son, Khalid bin Laden. The building was filled with darkness, smoke, and echoes of gunfire. Khalid was frightened and hiding upstairs. The SEALs waited silently near the staircase for him to appear. Minutes passed, but Khalid refused to come down. One of the operators had an interpreter with him. Slowly, in a soft Urdu accent, he began calling out, Khalid.
Khalid! Khalid!
Khalid believed someone from his own side had come to help him. Carefully, he leaned his head out near the staircase to see who was calling him. The moment he exposed himself, the SEALs fired directly into his head. Khalid died instantly. During the entire raid, cameras mounted on the commandos' helmets transmitted live footage directly back to the White House, where President Barack Obama and top American officials were watching the operation unfold in real time. But even after clearing the second floor, the commandos still had not found Osama bin Laden. Anxiety began spreading through the team. Was he really inside the compound, or had he escaped before they arrived? Slowly and cautiously, the SEALs climbed toward the third floor, and then they finally saw him. Inside the bedroom stood Osama bin Laden himself, along with his wives Khaira Sabar and Amal al-Sada. As the commandos entered the room, bin Laden quickly moved behind his wives, attempting to use them as shields while pushing them forward. The SEALs reacted instantly. Gunfire exploded through the room. The women were pulled aside, and the operators immediately targeted bin Laden. Bullets struck him directly in the head and chest. Within seconds, the founder of Al-Qaeda, the mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks and America's most hunted enemy, was dead. But even then, the SEALs were not fully certain it was truly him. They feared the possibility of a body double. To confirm the identity, they questioned the women inside the room. At first, neither of them answered. But when the commandos began moving the children downstairs toward the guest house, the women finally broke down in fear and admitted the truth. Yes, that was Osama bin Laden. The SEALs immediately collected computers, hard drives, documents, USB drives, and every piece of intelligence material they could find inside the compound. Meanwhile, the crashed Black Hawk created another serious problem. The helicopter contained highly classified stealth technology. America could not risk letting Pakistan, China, or any other country study its design. That is why the SEALs placed explosives inside the damaged helicopter and destroyed it before leaving. Minutes later, the backup Chinook arrived. The SEAL team loaded bin Laden's body and the recovered intelligence onto the helicopters and prepared to leave Pakistan. And still, the Pakistani military had not reached the compound. By the time local forces understood what had happened, the American helicopters were already disappearing back across the border into Afghanistan. Once the body arrived at the American base, officials conducted facial recognition tests and DNA analysis to confirm bin Laden's identity. The results matched. America had finally killed a man responsible for the deadliest terrorist attack in modern history. But another controversial decision followed immediately. The United States decided to bury Osama bin Laden at sea. American officials claimed they wanted to prevent his grave from becoming a symbolic shrine for extremists.
It is important for us to make sure that very graphic photos of somebody who was shot in the head are not floating around as an incitement to additional violence. It would create some national security risk. We don't need to spike the football.
Within less than 24 hours after his death, his body was taken aboard the USS Carl Vinson in the Arabian Sea. Religious procedures were performed, and then his body was lowered into the ocean. And just like that, after nearly a decade of war, intelligence operations, secret surveillance, and one of the largest manhunts in human history, Operation Neptune Spear came to an end. But even today, many questions remain unanswered. How could the world's most wanted terrorist hide for years inside Pakistan without anyone noticing? Did elements inside Pakistan secretly know he was there? And if that helicopter had crashed only slightly differently that night, could the entire mission have turned into one of America's greatest military disasters? History almost changed forever in Abbottabad that night.